Hey there, I'm Eternal, and I'm an object show fan that has barely watched any object shows. We have to fix that. Let's play Object Catchup. Hello and welcome into Object Catchup, the series where we discuss object show episodes right after watching them. Whether they're new or old, famous or unknown, it doesn't matter. We will get to it all. Now, we will be taking a look at one of the proper super old requests, because they're all like omega old. But we're going to be taking a look at this series titled Battle for a Country Flag. Yes, Battle for a Country Flag, or BFCF. It was recommended again like 1 million years ago. It has 3 seasons. I'm not sure if you can watch all of the 3 seasons, because I noticed that the 3rd season is really long. But we will at least watch season 1 and 2, alright? And then afterwards we'll see what we're gonna do about it, okay? This series is created by Blu3, or just Blue, theoretically. They are a creator. They have 6.87 thousand subscribers. And they made a couple of teapot memes, indeed, that helped the channel grow. But either way, yeah, I don't really know what's getting it. It seems like it's, flags are competing. I know flags, so we'll see. Let's go into it. Season 1 episodes are quite small, so we're just going to jump into it quick. Starting with a Battle for Country Flag 1A, which is titled, What Have You Done? Now, let's go. Okay, so that is episode 1A. So we have ourselves, the classic introduction. Everybody's on this grayscale landscape. There's no real background work being done. But yes, country flags are competing. Thankfully, by the way, I do know country flags. So this is a piece of knowledge that I know, so I'm not going to be confused. Don't worry about it. I know geography. So this is okay. So yeah, we end up having a couple of them. The text scrolls by so fast. It actually goes so fast. I don't know why it goes this fast. You gotta lock in to read it. Like, you gotta proper get like your reading speed up so you can read it. Like, it's actually so much. But anyways, eventually Japan ends up colliding with Nepal, which you can do because it does an animatic battle and it spawns in a guy. We end up having ourselves the countries there. I will admit that it is a very random selection of countries that are competing. What it was, Saint Vincent. Saint Vincent and the Grenadines in the club. But yes, it's being hosted by Earth, I guess, or just a planet, so I don't know. And I'm also curious about the prize, because I mean, like, a Battle for Country Flag, Battle for Country Flag, they're already a country flag, so like, it's like Battle for Object. It's like, well, I'm already an object, right? So like, I don't know what's going on here. Well, I don't know, we're gonna have to find out in episode 1B, which is titled What Have You Done? Again. Okay, let's go. Things are happening here at the speed very fast. So, we have ourselves the host showing up, and you can battle to win a prize. Indeed. The prize might be Dream Island. I don't know. There's a prize. Anyways, you're supposed to form teams. It's gonna be interesting to see, one of the main questions I have heading into this is that, of course, as we with country balls and all that stuff, I mean, this is country flags, right? But like, at the end of the day, it's like, will there be an attempt at showing like whatever the current political climate, like what the countries think of each other? Is it based on the political climate? Is it going to be based on the stereotypes? Is it going to be based on country balls? What is it going to be based on? I don't know, but the fact that Canada already seems to hang out with the US, the US isn't mean. That already gives me the vibes that I don't think this is how it usually goes. But yeah, interesting things. The challenge ends up being to cross Russia, and it seems like one team can do. We don't have a voting screen, so I can't actually tell who is up for Elam, but because I didn't clock the teams immediately. But yeah, either way, Team 1 and Team 2, and Team 3 also managed to lock in. One team couldn't cross because Ukraine can't go into Russia. That makes sense. And yeah, okay, let's see who gets out in episode 2: Theories and Predictions. Okay, that is episode 2 of Battle for Country Flag. I have no idea what just happened. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Okay, so we have ourselves the elimination where one team, Vatican City, has gotten eliminated. Unfortunate, I probably wouldn't vote out Vatican City because they are quite fun. In terms of a character that is different, the flag looks different. They have the joke that they're small, right, which at least is different than your average character, right? But I understand the viewers, at the end of the day, the viewers need to find a reason to vote something out. So voting, Vatican City is not even a country or whatever, right? Then it's like, okay, fair enough. And then we end up having the eliminated contestant on the other team be France. Wow, 56% of total votes going to France. Yeah, I don't know. People like trolling on France. That makes sense. Then end up dipping, and then whatever the hell happens at the end. So our Earth host here ends up accidentally, well, maybe not, they end up decomposing, okay? And then eventually it ends up turning out that actually after they breaks through their disguise or whatever, it turns out that they weren't Earth. They were actually Earth all along. It was actually an incredible trick. Done here, and I don't know, for some reason St. Vincent is upset, and then Italy says it's okay, and I believe those two teams are up for elimination by this Earth fella, this different Earth, this photorealistic Earth. I don't really know what just happened. However, look, I guess do I have any theories or predict? I really don't. I have no idea, but look, you do use what I say. Alright, episode 3 is titled Limb Removal. Okay, let's go. Alright, that is episode 3. So first we have the UK trying to improve relations with North Korea. Be like, hey, you're not all that bad, right? And then they end up losing their arms. And North Korea doesn't even move, but they just lose their arms at the sheer essence of North Korea. Yeah, that makes sense. North Korea is pretty scary. I've never been there, but, it sounds pretty scary. And we have ourselves the elimination. I just find it really funny when there's a long intro in a show like this. Because you're telling me that this intro goes from like 13 seconds to 43 seconds. It's a 30-second intro in a 1-minute episode. That means that the episode isn't 1 minute. The episode's 35 seconds in disguise. Right? Like, it's just... it's crazy. But either way, after the elimination time, we end up having with this new Earth that I guess that's just the host now. Maybe the presumption was that it was annoying to animate the algebraic host, so we just got rid of him. That's my prediction, anyways. But yeah, we ended up having St. Vincent out with 6 votes, and then on the other side, we ended up having Argentina be out with 7 votes. I do believe that this is something that makes sense, because, I mean, if you think about our team, Canada, Australia, USA, UK, and St. Vincent, you see, it's one of those things where it's like people sometimes really like to vote out the country which they don't really recognize as much, so St. Vincent's going to get out, or a country that they don't know much about. So, for example, I feel like people know more about Brazil and Mexico than they do about Argentina, so Argentina ends up getting out, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where it ends up going with that. You either troll the country because of stereotypes, or you eliminate the country you know the least about, which makes perfect sense, but it's a bit unfortunate, right? It'll make it probably a bit stale. Challenge turned into a country ball. Brazil and the US do, and episode 4, which is titled The Scariest Day of Australia's Life. Here we go. Man, these episodes surely go by fast. So that is episode 4. So UK and the US go hang out on a trillion, quadrillion, gazillion dollar yacht. And then Australia gets super scared because a spider is on their arm, so they have to carefully remove it, which is interesting. Because, of course, the thing with Australia is that they have a lot of spiders, like a lot of spiders. They have a lot of spiders, but some very venomous. Right, but in general, they just have a lot of spiders. Then there is the interesting question. Well, if you think about it, would Australia be scared of spiders if you have a lot? Because you would have a lot of dangerous spider, which maybe would mean that you're more scared of spider because spider can be more dangerous in the country. However, if there's the most spiders in your country, then that means that you should be used to having that many and known about that many, and you should be more knowledgeable about them because you have so many, which means that you would probably embrace the fact that you have spiders instead of being scared of them because you know about what is danger, what isn't dangerous. Another country who doesn't have as many spiders might not be as, it might be more scared because they don't know what spider is dangerous, when Australia would know because they're the one who got it. That makes sense? right? That's kind of what I'm thinking. So I don't think Australia should be that scared of spiders. But anyway, the eliminations are happening because the United Nations is hosting now. Dude, we went from Earth to different Earth to United Nations. Like, things are happening. But anyway, North Korea ends up dipping out with 12 votes. And then, actually, they literally dip out. Like, they get eliminated. Like, they walk away. And then India also gets out with 7 votes on the other team. In the meantime, challenges to get me a coffee. We steal the coffee from the United States. And it was $4. Oh, no. And yeah, good job, United Nations. You got coffee. Episode 5, North Korea's Revenge. Here we go. Alright, that is episode 5, A Battle for Country Flag. So the United States starts speaking some Spanish to Japan, but I don't know where they learned. I don't know who was trolling the United States, because apparently the things that the US said, well, the comment says that the United States said if Japan wants to kiss them, and also that they are studying Chinese. So that's interesting. So yeah, even the US is like, oh, that's what I said? Yeah. But the Italy, so I like how Italy's just looking at them too, surprised also. But then North Korea appears. North Korea continues on their rampage, and they're attacking. You can tell that that one of those EAS alarms starts sounding in the background. Another thing that is popular in kind of like the geography community, right? Because like, of course, there's EAS alarms for every country, even though they're like they're not real. Okay, like majority of them are not real. But like, anyway, North Korea is attacking, and then we end up having the challenge being to survive. North Korea manages to wipe out the team pretty well, but then the United States came in and was like, stop. And then they did stop. So I don't know. They flew into North Korea, and then it apparently destroyed it. So yeah, North Korea is officially gone. The United Nations is doing exactly what they tend to do usually, which is nothing at all. The United Nations is very accurate. They just tell people to do things and then don't do anything. Oh my god, this is so canonical. Alright, let's go to episode 6, Surprise time. Alright, it is episode 6, and Russia is here. That is not good news for Ukraine, of course. But yeah, Russia is now upset, but they were here to take their revenge because they're going to do a debut. And yes, indeed, we do a debut after the eliminated contestants end up being... Well, actually, Ukrainians are getting eliminated, so that's double now. Ukraine, terrible day. This is the worst. This is the scariest day of Ukraine's life. And then they end up dipping away, and then we end up having the debut to where the fellas up for debut is Russia, of course. Sweden, who is mining, because haha, Minecraft. Then we end up having China, which doesn't even do anything. Spain, which is animatic, so yeah, fair enough. Then you have Germany, who just says that you can vote anyone. Portugal, which is I show speed, Cristiano Ronaldo. And then we end up having Ireland that says the luck, and apparently Clover's off screen actually giving the luck. That's fun. Who's joining? I don't know. There is actually a decent amount of it. Who would join? Probably like Russia and Germany. Usually, right? Usually people see like the country balls. They're very World War II heavy, right? Like that's very much so like one of the main focuses. So I mean, that feels like the type of thing that would usually happen, right? Or I mean, it could be, but like it also does, kind of a little bit depend on the pulling power of the people, right? The pulling power of of who recommended it at the end of the day, because they are recommended. I mean, it's a bit weird to say that it's recommended, right? Because I mean, like, you recommended a flag, right? Like, you recommended, like, yo, can you add like Spain? And I mean, yeah, you technically recommended it. I'm saying like it was like a recommendation. It was like, it's not like an original character, but like, I get it. Episode 7 is titled "I Deserved Better." Here we go. Okay, that is episode 7. So it turns out that Russia isn't actually up for debut, which is interesting. I thought they were, because they said that they were. Or maybe we're just here to observe Like, we're just here to observe, I'm gonna observe. Or did they get kicked out because they leaked the existence of the debut? Maybe, I don't know. But either way, oh wait, did they not? Wait, where are they up here? Oh no, they got 7%. Wait, but they weren't here. They didn't react to it. Oh. Oh yeah. Oh, the scene was too fast. Okay, never mind. It was there. It was just fast. Dude, this show plays itself out so quickly that look, sometimes you'll just miss some details. Okay, it's not my fault. Anyway, Germany and Portugal end up joining. They end up joining Switzerland's team. Of course, I'm gonna root about. I'm rooting for Switzerland. Full bias. Bias is fully involved. But yeah, so they end up joining that team. The challenge is to Mew for look, this was when was this video made? It was made in April 2024. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, look, whatever's relevant, right? Portugal and Italy managed to pull it off, and then the United Nations gets tired. Look, the United Nations is a host of dubious quality, I must admit. However, look, if it's getting done, then it's getting done, all right? There's more to go. There's episode 8 time. Episode 8, Battle for Country Flag, is titled Boom! Let's go. Okay, that is episode 8 of the Battle for Country Flag. So we have ourselves a new intro, because I guess we have to accommodate for the existence of our new fellas. It somehow has more, like transitions between it, but still keeps itself at a relatively similar size of about 30 seconds. The text is bigger and the countries, the flags and stuff just literally take up more space on the screen. I like how Italy is just there by themselves. It's just Italy. they're just sitting there. The number is just Italy. Okay, I mean, cool. Yeah, and they have the sad face as well. The eliminated contestant ends up being the United Kingdom, who gets eliminated with 10 votes. I mean, on the other team, ended up having Japan eliminated with 10 votes, but BFCF with 9. Yeah, I mean, they didn't do that much in these challenges, so, because, they barely showed up, so it's just kind of difficult to differentiate too much. So that means that we end up having, a little bit of a similar situation. But challenge is to explode, which is interesting, now that it's the merge. Yes, the merge. I'm surprised the United Nations is advocating for such things, but the United States explodes, Italy explodes, maybe with Switzerland, I'm not sure. The Australia somehow explodes without a bomb, and South Korea also managed to just think about exploding really hard, and then they managed to explode. So that turns out that if you want to explode, you just gotta think about it. It's really not that complicated. If you just sit there and go, you see, that's the sound effect of explode. It's a very accurate sound effect, the one that I just made. And now it's time to get into the very accurate episode 9. How is your past? I don't know. Let's find out. Alright, that is episode 9. So the United States, a country with a very long past, is asking other countries how their past were. They asked South Korea, and well, I used to be with North Korea that one time. And Germany's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And then US goes like, yo, Germany, how was your past? Was it good? And then Germany's like, can we not talk about that right now? Then US goes, okay. Then we ask the message like, shut up. So out of the 29 votes, we're going to have the eliminated contestants be, nobody. Well, because both Brazil, Mexico, and Portugal tie with 7 votes, so one of them will be safe, and it turns out that Portugal ends up being safe. I like how we end up being like, oh, I have proof of, and then it's a wheel showing Portugal, as if you couldn't just spin the wheel multiple times until it landed on Portugal and you got the screenshot. I can still say bias. I don't think it's bias, right? I don't believe that it is bias, but it can definitely still be biased. There's not a legal requirement. The website doesn't force you to one wheel spin. You could spin it multiple times. Anyway, Mexico and Brazil have been eliminated, and your challenge is to be a communist country. The United Nations. It turns the U.S. hates them. So is everybody up for Elam? Who the hell is? Nobody here is a communist country, right? Am I dumb? Nobody currently in this show is a communist country, so I think everybody is up for elimination. Gotta be, right? I mean, I don't know. Anyways, apparently we need to take over Super 1-Up Dude in subscribers, whatever they did. They need to get surpassed. And let's see. In episode 10, the Eiffel Tower. Oh, okay. All right. Eiffel Tower. Let's go. Alright, that is episode 10 of the Battle for Country Flag, and Switzerland ends up being the last one safe. Let's go. We still live in for the win. Let's go. Portugal gets eliminated in anti-Sui, and then we end up having the United States also eliminated. I don't know what. They end up pulling out a gun. I definitely thought by the angle of this gun that they were going to shoot themselves. However, they actually managed to shoot the United Nations instead, which is not good. So they're quite upset at this. And then the United States proceeds to run away. That is the second time that eliminated contestants run away. But, you know, North Korea and the U.S. share a lot of similarities. And anyways, we can head into the challenge, which is to climb the Eiffel Tower, hosted by France, because of course we're, you know, at the Eiffel Tower. And I mean, again, technically correct, because, you know, they'd be very overprotective of the Eiffel Tower, but whatever. Either way, we're not having to challenge be there. Canada's climbing, then Italy decides to bring Canada along with them to climb up. Canada's looking at them and be like, eh. Like, they're like, oh, let's go, thank you. So, yeah, those two are friend. Italy is friendly, okay? So they're doing them, and they qualify everybody except for Elam. I feel like it might be over for Switzerland soon. I'm not gonna lie, but we're gonna have to find out in the only way that we could possibly find out, which is by watching episode 11, which is titled "Return of an Old Friend." Let's see. Okay, so that is episode 11 of the series. So Italy proceeds to eat a pizza in one bite. For some reason, Australia is not a big fan of this. They proceed to stare, and it turns out that actually Switzerland has the voting results somehow. They proceed to read them, and they got out. It is so over for us, Swiss nation. We have been eliminated. We got surprisingly close. I mean, 25% to 20% is it's pretty alright, but yeah, unfortunately, Switzerland ends up getting eliminated here. The United Nations is not happy about us having read the voting results, but you know, yeah, we'll get them next time, alright? Season 2 is... It's our season. We're coming back stronger, just like the hockey. And yeah, either way, we end up going over. And then the United Nations has their host duties taken back by Earth. Remember Earth, the first Earth? Well, they have, you know, they've had a transformation. They have gone from being a algebraianistic host to being an animatic host, like very animatic host to an insane degree. So yeah, they do a couple of murders, they do a couple of while also doing the really weird thing. Their challenges are I don't know what the hell the challenge is to perform like a random audio, and apparently Australia is capable of doing it. So, you know, fair enough to Australia for pulling it off, whatever the hell that was. But, you know, sometimes you do manage to do it. But yeah, the Earth is back. Back here, you know, to cause havoc. Germany did not like dying. That's fair enough. I mean, yeah. And I think does Italy also get eliminated? Because somebody else is supposed to get eliminated. Hold on, because there's a 3-way tie. Well, but Italy's enough for Elam. So was Switzerland the only character that got eliminated? I mean, I guess, because usually it's double Elam, but everybody else had a 20%. So, and then Switzerland got out. So yeah, I think Switzerland got out. All right, like the only. All right, episode 12. Welcome to the EA. What? It's in the game? Okay, that is episode 12 of Battle for Country Flag. So, for some reason, after about 120, the episode ends and we end up having a stall out. I don't know why we end up deciding to stall it out. I mean, I can understand that the episode is relatively short, but I mean, it's relatively normal size if you compare it to the other ones, right? Like, episode 9 was, longer. No, sorry, it was shorter. Episode 3 was shorter. Episode 1A and 1B were shorter. Like, this isn't that on average of a length. On average, yeah. That isn't that abnormal of a length, right? But okay. Anyways, Earth hosts the elimination, and we end up having South Korea be out because we're only doing single elim. The intro has massively improved. The intro now shows the elimination status by showing a gigantic X on whichever character is out. So yeah, I will admit that every single time Italy in bold text has cracked me up. That is quite funny. And then either way, we end up having the elimination area, which is the EA, whatever the hell that is. But either way, they end up hanging out there. The United States keeps talking Japanese to Japan. I don't know what they say this time, but Japan is not flustered by it. So they end up still saying their whole thing. Apparently, the USA got caught by Earth, which is lore that we don't know. Challenge: don't have white in your flag. Apparently, Germany. Well, apparently. What do you mean apparently? Germany doesn't, which means that they are safe. And everybody else is up for elim. Good job, Germany, on not having white in your flag. I'm sure you planned that. I'm sure you calculated that in a proper. It took a lot of skill and ability and capability to do this incredible act of being able to not have white in your flag. So yeah, it was epic. Okay. Episode number 13 is titled "Get Out of My Head." All right, let's go. Okay, so that is episode 13, A Battle for a Country Flag. So Italy ends up coming over to Germany and be like, yo, do you want to do an alliance? And Germany goes like, okay. Which of course might give a couple of flashbacks. Germany ends up having a memory that about, after they got beat up, be like, what do we do with them? We split them into 4. Although I don't, did they do that? Yeah, yes, right? Oh, yeah, 1, 2, Berlin. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I want to be 3, whatever. Okay, but anyway, they ended up doing that, and we have Italy, so this is a Wendy's, and now we have ourselves the elimination, where the ultimate contestant ends up being Philippines. Yeah, Philippines has barely done anything, at all throughout, nearly all of this time. It's a bit unfortunate, but I mean, to be fair, a lot of countries haven't done much. Canada, it's like with the first time that Canada isn't the first one saved. I think people are starting to realize that Canada is the first one saved literally all 4 times they're up for elim. They're starting to be like, okay, Canada, you are playing your luck a little bit. So they've started to vote Canada a little bit more, which, yeah, fair enough. And then we end up having the challenge be to survive. Yes, we end up doing an animatic. Look, I understand that episode's pretty good, but like episode 2, Caffeination, it was pretty good, but you don't need to do it every time. Anyway, Italy ends up sacrificing themselves to keep Germany alive. However, by the startling of like, oh my god, Italy saved me, Germany also ends up getting cooked. So it's not, it barely even works. And either way, and then Australia also just gets Australiaed. Which means that the contestant who survives is none other than Canada, who is safe. Yippee. Good job. Alright, well, that is indeed episode 13. It is a bit longer than usual, because it's interesting how it really doesn't feel that much longer, but that flashback adds 20 additional seconds to the episode, and then goes from 140 to 2 minutes. It's the first episode to last 2 minutes, except if you consider the combined episode 1, which doesn't exist. It's just 2 episodes, right? And in fact, we're gonna have the longest episode of the season coming up right here, because episode 14 of Battle for Country Flag is titled Different Universes. Let's go. Whoa. Okay, that is episode 14 of Battle for Country Flag, the longest one yet, indeed, by a full minute over 3-minute episodes. Still isn't a lot, right? This one is longer because we end up having a comment reading as of the bottom 2, because Italy saved first, but the bottom 2, Germany on Australia, we end up reading a couple of fellas. We got a 30-minute explanation for who Pomni is. I don't think we need to, I don't think Germany needs a 30-minute explanation of who Pomni is. Pomni is a girl who dropped into a digital world and you can't escape and is miserable. Boom. Didn't take me 30 minutes. Didn't, I did, but okay, alright. But yeah, Germany's getting dissed by the comments. They end up saying it's okay. For some reason, there's two disclaimers to Italy saying the sentence "How dare they?" I don't even know why that needs disclaimers. Is it because wait, it's because Italy said "How dare they?" to having an opinion? Is that the joke? Oh, okay, I get it. I think. I mean, that's what I believe is the idea. But either way, we end up having Australia. Despite your popularity, you got eliminated. We have a vocal removed version of the track. You can barely still hear for grumbling back in the background. But Australia's been eliminated. This is expected at this point. For some reason, by the way, Poland is in the EA. What is Poland doing in the Electronic Arts? What? I don't remember you being up for debut, but I guess you end up there. Or is that just, does every country live here? No, but there's, wait, Poland was not in this show. Wait, am I going crazy? I swear this country was not. Poland was not in the show, right? And Poland was neither in the show nor in the debut. So I don't know how that's there. Okay, interesting. But wait, we end up having while Animatic tries to find a challenge, for some reason Italy starts mewing again. Why? And then Earth decides that they just get immunity because they're impressed. What an alpha sick. I'm not reading it. Fuck off. I'm not reading. You want me to read it? But like IOA. Yeah, as Earth is impressed. And I mean, since technically they might not know the challenges, of course, that were done by the United Nations, so that means that they get to see it as if it's the first time, so fair enough. We end up having the voting, and two more episodes remain. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win it all? I don't know. We're gonna have to find out, because episode 15 is titled "No Pineapple on the Pizza." Okay, alright, you heard it? Alright, let's dive ourselves right into it. Here we go. Alright, that is episode 15, the classic filler episode without a challenge. So we have ourselves Australia trying to fix up Poland. Poland is very resentful on Australia. To be fair, I don't know why you're mad at Australia. It's not Australia's fault that they got teleported in mid-air on top of you. That was not, like, I don't think Australia did not mean to, that was not one of the intended things for Australia to do. But okay then. Either way, they end up jumping in, and then we end up having ourselves after our intro, which is, the intro. By the way, it was only that one episode that had like the crosses and stuff on it. I don't know why that was there. I think it then got removed. But either way, Italy hopes that Germany is safe. Canada starts trolling Italy by putting pineapple on the pizza. Peter gets very upset and tells you, "Don't put the pineapple on the pizza." And indeed, they don't end up. I mean, I guess when you get dunked on the ground, probably not. But yeah, Germany seems that we got some comments going against it. Like, friggin', how the heck is Germany still in? This is kind of breaking the debut or rejoining rule. I mean, like, that they can't get to finales. That's never part of the rule. I'm the bit. Like, they can get to finales. They can't. They usually don't win, right? I mean, even though we have seen it happen before, but like, they usually don't win. But yeah, either way, we end up having Canada. Wait, who gets eliminated? Canada ends up getting eliminated with 51.5%, super close. But yeah, so Italy and Germany, the two friendos, are here together. They don't exactly have a reason to why they should win. Italy just says yes, and Germany just shrugs, because, I mean, that's their whole motto, right? They would just say vote who you want. And indeed, you can vote who you want. But yeah, I think both of them don't mind which of the two win. Italy probably represents the show a little bit better than Germany does. However, like, or no, I mean, I don't know. I think Germany represents the show pretty well, because the debut was pretty early, so it feels like they've gotten time to settle in. Whatever. Episode 16, the finale, is titled Finale Day. Here we go. Alright, it's finale day. The United States manages to escape the Electronic Arts by, I don't know, United Statesing all over the place. And they end up dropping in right before Earth sees them and goes like, what the fuck are you doing? And they proceed to get immediately TP'd back. I'm surprised we didn't do the classic object show thing of the fellas get to watch the finale unfold, but, you know, yeah, we end up having the comment speedrun, and they're going, Germany gets voted because the flag's better. Is it? Nah, green is cool. Italy wins. Is there going to be a season 2? Maybe. The end screen says that there will be, and there is, because I'm in the future, so I know. We end up having people voting Germany, and then we end up having people voting Italy. Then what else? There's somebody said hello, but yes. And then we end up having the winner, which is at a super close contest, Germany, who wins with 53.5%. Now that's pretty clutch. I mean, 53.5%. It is a competitive economy. I like how we end up dissing the one commenter that called them a wasted debut, as if the other debut isn't Cristiano Ronaldo Sui. It's as if the other one was better. What are we doing out here? Like, come on now. But either way, it is truly a solid performance out here from Germany, which, yeah, like, they don't usually tend to give me off vibes of a like character that would win. However, you know, the more you think about it, it's like, well, they got a relatively good amount of screen time. They're one of the more chill contestants, right? They've got, you know, that kind of country lore about them that makes them kind of fun to poke fun at. Right, and like in general, they're relatively neutral in the sense of, like, you know, how much people would like them. So I think that you know, it's relatively fair. I don't judge it too harshly. Okay, well then, should we do season 2? I think we should do season 2, right? I think that makes sense. Season 2 is titled BFCFR. Which I don't know what it stands for. Wait, what does it stand for? Battlefield Country have Reboot. Okay, yes, Reboot. All right, let's jump into episode 1, which is titled Turkey or Turkey. One day the show will invent a voting screen and it's gonna be great. This is episode 1 of the Battle for Country Flag Reboot. So we have ourselves a lot of people. We have ourselves some new fellas. Earth is back to host alongside Saturn as a co-host. Wouldn't the moon make a lot more sense? I don't know, but either way, the Saturn is here as a co-host, maybe. We end up having a renewed intro that now lasts like 40 seconds instead. We end up having all the characters and their genders, because I forgot that flags can have, like, you know, that these are characters with gender. I would literally forget that, right? Like, even in, like, country balls, like, even in country balls, like, there's barely that much talk about what gender a country is, right? That's just kind of not a thing usually. But these fellas have them, and you can look at them. They're on screen. Do I agree with their interpretations? I mean, like, it kind of depends. I didn't have too much time to really take a look into it. But like, both interpretations are fine, you know? It's just kind of like, oh, would the stereotypical US thing be a male? Probably, right? Kind of like one of those things. So, yeah, the US is much more stereotypical USA country ball this time than usual. Last time USA was relatively chill, but now they put on the sunglasses. They be all mean. They be all overbearing. They be all eating food, you know. And they, in fact, win the challenge because of it. We end up having so many countries. So, yeah, New Zealand drops by with their brother Australia. Then there's also a bunch of fellas. There's Afghanistan that's got spiky teeth. That's how you can tell that they're evil. North Korea, again, continues to take away people's arms. Cuba, there's Brunei. Nobody knows Brunei. That makes sense. Greece and Sweden agree to join Germany and Italy's team. The US forms a team with Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. And then Chad is there, of course, Chad, the country. And then everybody wants to join Chad. or Germany, Italy, Spain, France, Sweden, Greece, Cuba, Jamaica, Rwanda, Bhutan, Ethiopia, and Antigua can join, which means that Russia and Vatican City are the ones on the other teams. Those are the two teams, I think. But either way, yeah, there's a lot of people. I don't believe that this is every country in the intro, though. It kind of confuses me. Because there's like Suriname in the intro, and Suriname is not here. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that. But either way, the challenge will be based off a country. Nope, the background will not be changing to represent the country. Well, every country is actually a grey void. But either way, Turkey appears, and this has a chance to eat the turkey legs. The United States eats the turkey legs. Turkey goes like, what the hell? Greece bullies Turkey a little bit. And then we end up having the voting screen. Why do I think there's a lot of countries and not a lot more time? You know, that's kind of the problems that there is right now. Like, in general, we've like doubled the amount of time, but we like tripled the amount of people in the show. So that means that overall the people per minute is way higher. So I'm worried that a lot of these eliminations are going to be based on pretty much nothing, but the viewers will try their best. Episode 2, Impossible Escape. Okay, so that is episode 2 of Battle for Country Flag Reboot. This show has discovered the art of animation. I know, right? The characters are like moving and stuff. That is crazy. So we also, there's just a couple of changes, including the text being way more country flagified, right? Especially like the tricolor flags, and now producing tricolor text. I don't know if that looks very good, especially when words need to kind of split. Like, it kind of looks awkward, I'm not gonna lie. However, yeah, we have the animation that overall is pretty solid. However, yet again, also that like has with the text, it ends up having a little bit of an issue with maybe acting itself out too fast. You know, like, I don't know what it is about it. It's just kind of fast. Sorry. And either way, after this episode, we end up having Germany eliminated because viewers do not allow multiple time winners to exist. I still think that'd be fun if viewers allowed it. I think it makes for interesting dynamics, but no, they get shut down in principle. So a bit unfortunate, but yeah. We have Italy right as Germany's about to pop in because they wanted them to stay, and it just and then they proceeded to get cut off. So that's interesting. I feel like this show is kind of playing around with the concept of like, yo, what if countries got shipped? Right? Because it's like, I know it does though. It did the whole Japan and US skit. It does this thing, this dynamic, right? And at least I appreciate with this dynamic that like it is Italy and Germany, which you can reasonably give the connection of like they were friends, they are friends, right? When it, like, especially in country balls and country humans, there's this type of thing of making a generally problematic, rivals into lovers for the sake of it, right? That's why you'll see a lot of weird country human stuff. They'll say, oh, it's U.S. and Soviet Union, and oh, it's U.S. and Japan because Pearl Harbor, right? So, it's kind of one of those things. And there is, like, a very debatable question about the morality of, like, how it is to do that stuff, right? Personally, I think that it's okay. However, I do definitely understand why somebody might not be into it, right? The glorification of all that stuff. If it occurs about my knowledge of it, this was another one of those things where it's like, I kind of watch a couple Country Balls videos. I watch those, like, alternate universe, alternate futures that were kind of fun. Over 7 years ago. It was ages ago, right? But I used to do this. Those were interesting. But so I have like a general knowledge of how country polls kind of work, and I like from time to time watch the freaking Drew Durno videos or whatever, right? So I tend to do that, and it's kind of interesting. However, in general, right, whether it's okay, I think that it's debatable. Depends on how the interpretation of it goes, and this interpretation is extremely mild, so I would say it's fine. The challenge is to escape North Korea. Russia has a pass to escape North Korea, so they managed to do that because Russia's allies with North Korea. That makes perfect sense. Italy is at Bhutan for some reason, arrives to comfort them. What a duo. And that is episode 2. We can now jump into episode 3 because it is titled Back in Medieval Times. Let's go. Okay, so that is episode 3 of the Battle for Country Flag Reboot. So, we have ourselves some shenanigans. We get to see Chile for the first time, and it turns out that Chile is actually an Omega murderer. I did not know this information before. But yes, they blow up Egypt with a soybean, and they just say lol. And then Vatican City is like, I need to stop dying, so let's form a new team. So they end up forming a new team that is titled Killing is Lame Law. And which of course abbreviates to Team KO. Yeah, I mean, this is obviously like a death pack joke. But yes, I mean, fair enough. I feel like a team would do that in something like this, so yeah. The US names their own team Freedom, which, of course, I don't think people don't tend to be very happy about the name. Afghanistan is surprisingly into it, and Brunei is also here. And then finally, the other teams doesn't name themselves anything. So we end up having the intro. The intro hasn't changed. I don't know why. We got to see Saturn for the first time actually say something. Great co-host that only shows up 3 episodes in to introduce a challenge, and then doesn't do anything for the rest of it. I love that. Just very very inspiring stuff out here. But yes, they host the elimination, and we end up having Chad eliminated and Rwanda also eliminated. Italy being the last safe is concerning. I believe what's going on there is also the detail of, like, there's so many countries here that are relatively unnotable, right? Like, for example, Jamaica, right? Relatively unnotable, didn't have scenes in the episode, just didn't have many things at all, right? So you end up voting for characters which do have a defined trait, like Chad or Italy, because there's clearly something going on, right? So that means that if you don't like what's going on, it's better, right? So that means that if a character is doing something that you don't like, it's worse than a character doing nothing and being neutral, right? So that's why I think characters that do stuff end up getting voted to get out, even though it's not really as much their fault, right? It's why this is one of the perks of Vote to Save, because this, like, it's a great example of Vote to Save, because Vote to Save doesn't fixes this specific problem. Also because if when you have safe, you need to, that means that the people who do things will get rewarded for doing things because they'll be on your mind. You want to save them, right? Instead, the characters, like for example Jamaica, who doesn't get any votes to eliminate because they're too neutral, they also want to get any votes to save because they're too neutral, right? Which means that they would just end up like dying in a Vote to Save system. So that's why Vote to Save, for example, changes who tends to be safe. Anyways, the challenge is to go back in time, and going back in time, a little bit exaggeratingly back in time, as the Earth ends up turning into like the rock version of itself. But yeah, everybody's in their old flag variants, and we end up having, and Sweden ends up declaring war in the past, and yeah, ends up doing pretty alright. And I mean, if the challenge is to go to war, it's not to win a war, none of it, just to go to war. And yes, they technically went to war. Good stuff. Episode 4 is titled Friends or Foes. Okay, so that is episode 4 of Battle for Country Flag Reboot. So, we have ourselves Ethiopia. So, Ethiopia is sleeping a lot, because I don't really exactly know, but apparently they used to be really, really energetic, until Cuba comes in and is like, okay, come on, wake up, and then they dunk coffee on them on accident, and they end up going absolutely crazy. They end up, being all woo, being all hyperactive. I see colors. It is colors. I don't know. Anyways, I like letters. My favorite letter of the color wheel is light switch, and I love crayons. I eat them every day. They are so tasty, and I love the way they go. I'm Ethiopian, a fan of Victoria's Secret, but it's a secret, and she told me not to tell anyone the secret because the Chihuahua will put me in a container. Okay. Good stuff, Ethiopia. I think Ethiopian coffee is a thing. I don't remember. I think this is a thing. Is it? I've heard of it. Ethiopian coffee syrup. This is a thing, right? Is a long-standing coffee production in Ethiopia is a long-standing tradition. Okay, that's interesting. There's also a football club. So that's probably where I know it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. Well, good to know that Ethiopia has coffee. But anyways, as they do that, we end up having ourselves the elimination, where the eliminated contestants end up being Russia and Afghanistan, two meanies, quote unquote, because they were mean. I know, right? Mean characters tend to get out, and indeed they did. The U.S. is happy about this. We end up having the first true, because like in the past episode there was another, like we did see some other people coming in to animate for the show. This is the first proper showcase of that. And you can tell because it is way less consistent, the animation quality, unfortunately. The styling changes. The limb size is definitely the most notable immediate change. The aspect ratio is the second most notable immediate change. Sometimes it's full screen, sometimes there's black bars at the top, sometimes it's square. There's just sometimes the entire screen there's a black border, right? Like it's not great. Because there's just a lot of that stuff going on, and it's not great. You can tell that somebody had the Flipper logo there, and they just fucking scribbled it out. No, it's not there. There's just a gray square that just so happens to look like the Flipper Clip logo. No, very different. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because like it's one of those things where of course, you want to have consistency, right? Like, I understand that, like, you know, you want to have the show animated and you think that the animation is better. But, like, here's the deal. None of these animations are a problem on their own. They're all actually relatively fine, right? They're very suitable. It's just it doesn't really work when there's the switch from person to person. You know, like it's just different. It's just kind of different, especially as the flags themselves also have different, like, you know, depending on the person will have the different sizing of where they got it, right, and all that stuff, and there'll be more pixelated or less pixelated, and the text will be more colored, will be colored after the flag, or it'll be single color. Like, there's a lot of differences, and like, even though yes, it is better to have animation, you need to have a consistent basis of animation, otherwise it's gonna look messy, right? So I wouldn't personally recommend the show doing this, you know. I would recommend, honestly, yeah, I would recommend that, like, it keeps itself to what it knows it can do relatively consistently, right? Same thing goes. I saw right here, when they're talking to France, why is the US flag mirrored? That's illegal, right? Like, it's kind of one of those things where, it's just, the issue, it really is just that, you know. It's just not as consistent. But either way, we end up having the challenge, which is to face your enemy. If you manage to be nice to your enemy, you gain a point. If you're mean to your enemy, you lose a point. This challenge almost makes sense, except the fact that they don't actually show any of it. I mean, they show, like, portions of it. Apparently, Greece made Turkey mildly happy. But, like, you know, apparently Italy and Spain got the win, but we didn't get to see them. Who were there? And I don't know. Like, we don't get to see it, you know. And that's another immediate criticism I have. Like, that you have to show the challenge, right? If a team is safe, why are they safe? Show me. If a team's up for elimination, we have to know why they're up for elimination, right? It's kind of one of those things. You can't just say they're safe off screen. No, something has to happen. I'm watching an object show. I'm supposed to see a show happening on the screen, okay? So that's the best way that I can describe it. But either way, yeah, the US ends up, after swearing, be like, you are cool and awesome, and then Team Kill ends up being up for elimination by just kind of not doing much of anything. That's what happens when you have no enemies. That's what happens when you have no enemies, you know. There wasn't even anybody to be nice to. You know, there was nobody to be nice to, so Team Kill couldn't even get any points because there wasn't anybody that they were mean against. So yeah, honestly, bars. Episode 5A. Episode 5A is titled "The Past Does Not Go By Fast." This is the most random sentence casing. It says, like, what is it? Does it like the verbs? I'm trying to figure out, like, what casing structure this uses, because some are lowercase, some are upper. Whatever. Let's go. Okay, so that is episode 5A of Battle for Country Flag. So it is trying to do lore. Let's see, what is it trying to do? So Italy is very sad down there in the lands of like the regular lands, which are the white lands, but the gray lands are the normal lands, but then the gray lands is also the elimination area, where it just depends. Okay, I don't know what place is the normal lands. What color of gray. That way, Germany's looking at them from above, which is interesting. That's usually not where elimination areas tend to be, right? Like usually they tend to be below the world, like the underworld or whatever. But here's actually over the world. They're looking down at Italy, which is interesting. Then Russia comes in and goes like, "What the hell? What was an emotional wreck?" And they end up having a memory. What memory does Russia have? So Russia had the memory of the Axis, yes, as they are the trio in the Soviet Union, being sad about them, and it's like, oh, wait, you were with them the whole time, which I mean, I guess they're dating. Which Germany replies with no, so fair enough. Then Russia proceeds to get mad. They are indeed pretty upset. But either way, we end up having Jamaica come in and say, well, yo, you've been sad since episode 2. What's going on? And then they proceed to just say okay and leave. Italy doesn't even say anything. They just say, yo, why are you sad? Okay, bye. It's just like, if you ask a question and don't wait for an answer, just leave. Like, what was the point of this interaction? Jamaica, you need to lock in. Okay, what is this? Becomes a least relevant character. We have a new intro, a renewed intro. We have the characters shown in duets, like how they were shown in the last season, right? So that's pretty cool. The United Nations also pops in a quick appearance. They're very concerned in the intro, so I don't know, they might show up sometime. 36 votes. The eliminated contestant ends up being Suriname and Vatican City. So fair enough. I don't think Vatican City even gets to show up in this episode, but either way, we end up having Cuba being alone. They're sad because they're alone, which is interesting. But yeah, the US gets mad at them. What is it? France needs to fix sadness. I thank you. You've got a great goal going on here. But either way, Earth decides that the challenge is to take over. Wait a minute. Hello everyone. Challenge time, very fun. Okay, no, it was just the coloring. Sorry, because I noticed that like the coloring of Earth's text changed a little bit from like cyan to just blue. So maybe that's like, oh, you got taken over. No, I don't think so. But yeah, the challenge is to have the most land, take over the world. Which team has the most land by the end chooses the team to be up for elimination. So I'm glad that they're just gonna be doing another world war. But yeah, I presume they might take a fictional simulation. And now we have the flags of Team Freedom, Team 2, Team whatever it was called, Team Kill, and then Cuba, and then Cuba. Yeah, I feel like this is not the best time to be a solo team. I must admit, it's just Cuba. Yep, that's Cuba right there. I must admit that, like, especially since you have like the US and all the English-speaking countries together, and then there's Cuba, and that it is going to be a difficult situation here for Cuba to try to survive. I think they just gotta kind of lock in, right, and try to be the least freaking noticeable possible. That way you don't get nominated for the elimination. That was screwed, bro. All right. Episode 5B of the Battle for Country Flag Reboot, which gets renamed here in the titles to BFCFR. 5B, it is titled "The Past Does Not Go By Fast." Still, again, let's go again. Alright, that is BFCFR. Why is that? It's kind of awkward to say BF, because it's BFCF. VFCF, that's why it's kind of awkward to say. Because I was wondering, because I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying BFCFR. 5B. So we end up having ourselves a couple of scenes. So Okay, it seems like whether the background is white or it's gray is a completely unknown, dependent on the person who's animating it. However, I believe that the best option is the gray, because now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, the white doesn't work, because there's white in majority of flags in the world, right? Which means that it'll like blend itself in, especially like like, I mean, it looks fine on most flags, doesn't like come out annoying, but imagine like Poland, and then you're like, oh, yeah, I don't know about that, right? So, that it would be problem basically, right? But either way, they end up having it. So yeah, well, at least it's like again, you don't need to standardize that much if you don't want it, but like you gotta standardize some stuff, like the fact that the background is gray, right? Anyway, Bhutan only set 1 hour, and France is time for their epic tactic, road to making people not sad. Hello, my fellow depressed dude. You are depressed because you are sad, and great line of logic. Why are you sad? Italy says Germany. And then France said, I tried to ask someone out. And then apparently they... France actually asked Switzerland to go out with them, which is crazy. And then Switzerland was like, sorry, but I don't date people. Stay in neutral. Let's go. Stay neutral. That's what we like to see here, Swiss nation. But yeah, that's not great, and that's why I'm single. But there's still time for you. But yeah, I like how France immediately is clocking in that Italy. Oh well, if you're sad, that's because Germany rejected you, maybe. But no, apparently don't love her. We're friends. I never even considered it. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the thing that got cut off that Italy was saying is not necessarily I love. Right? Those are different things. I different than oh. So you could say I like you. You know, that's not as much of a declaration. You know, as it would be usually. I wonder why Switzerland didn't come out. The returnees are very random. And I have a way ice cream. He goes like, yo, ice cream. Ice cream, and then Italy takes the ice cream. I'm glad that at least the tactic of ice cream equals happiness does work. It does work every time. And that's good. And then Italy gets to lead the team, and then we end up heading ourselves into the battle. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there are a few things I have understood less in life than whatever the fuck this is. I'm not gonna lie. What is happening? There's like a map, and then it like gets taken over by the team flags, and it literally just does a back and forth. It goes toot 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 toot. It does a gigantic back and forth. Sometimes teams are gone from the map, then they come back, then they've taken over half the world, then apparently they lose out of it, and then I don't know what's happening. Okay. And be for real, this is not one of the best war simulations I've ever seen. Okay, I must admit, I have no idea what has just happened. Like, this has got all of the same logic as a game of Risk, right? Like, I don't know what the hell is going on. But either way, yeah, Cuba managed to do pretty well. But then the U.S. was like, we gotta stop them. So then they send them a bomb, and then they explode. So no more Cuba. Italy is also the next champion for the USA. But they're like, I don't want to be seen as a simp. Which, hey, at least you acknowledge that's what you're doing. So it's time for you to perish. Say bye-bye. And then the USA screams. I like how France is proud, being like, I did that. Like how France is looking at it like, I did that. I activated those powers. And then, yeah, we'll see if that strategy works in episode 5C of BFCFR, which is titled The Past. BFCFR 5CC. Oh my god, that is impossible to say. The past does not go by fast. Read the description after watching. Okay, I'll do it. Let's go. Okay, that is episode 5C, so it told me to read the description, so let's go do that now. So this was not the first BFCFR 5C. The FLA file of the original episode got corrupted, and I had to remake the whole episode again. It was going to be 5 minutes more additional stuff, but I was tired and just wanted to release it today, so I just only kept the most important stuff and left out parts like when New Zealand recovers Australia. Okay, so that happened, and also made some spelling errors, so sorry for that. So yeah, hope you enjoy. That's fair. you know, as usual, my tips for all that stuff ends up absolutely boiling itself down to, yo, you can take a day. It is not the end of the world. Either way, we end up having Italy manage to send the USA into a dunk of water where the UN is there. The UN is going insane. However, them and the USA manage to escape. The UN tries to get revenge on Earth. Earth immediately notices and sends them back into the waterlands, where the UN remains pretty sad. I'm not gonna lie. At least the United States trying to run away from the United Nations is canonically accurate to the world. But either way, we end up having Team Freedom win. They take Team 2 because, of course, Italy. So then we end up having the idea. So everybody except Jamaica pretty much agrees to vote together, right? The NATO people. However, they don't do this. They don't do this smartly at all. So they could vote on either Jamaica or Ethiopia. Those are the two options, right? So and they have the majority power. They know this because they they pointed out there's only two people. However, for some damned reason, they all bundle up their votes on one person as if it matters, which means that Jamaica/Ethiopia end up having their power entirely like reliant on themselves to eliminate somebody of their own volition, because they didn't think, because I mean with 7 votes, if you consider one of them was probably Ethiopia self-voting because they were sleeping, right, then that's 6 votes. If you just split them up 3 and 3, there is nothing that these two can realistically do, because they can maximum vote 2 for 1, right? So then if you just do 3 and 3, those 2 people you want will get out, and then you keep your NATO alliance entirely correct, right? But they didn't think this through, which means that we end up having Ethiopia get eliminated alongside Italy, right? Who ends up leaving. However, a rejoin is about to happen. Germany tells that they should rejoin because they got out first. Valid. Antigua's like, nobody cares about me, so you should vote me. That way, maybe somebody will. Fair enough. Afghanistan would do it. Russia's like, if I rejoin, Ukraine will get 1 hour of freedom and rest. That is evil. That is evil. You can't do that. That is crazy. I wonder if that works. I have no idea who rejoins. Probably Germany. Probably Germany entirely because of the humor of, yo, it'd be funny if Italy got eliminated and then Germany rejoined, so that way we get the scene in reverse. Yeah, Suriname doesn't even know what they did. They got 24 votes to get out. I also literally don't remember why what they did. But either way, yeah. Let's see who you want. One of them will rejoin. There's Morse code, by the way, that the UN is blabbering. I don't know what it means. We don't know. Does anybody in the comments know? I don't think anybody in the comments know. But we'll find out eventually. Actually, we won't. But hopefully it won't matter. Episode 6 of BFCF is titled A Painful Second Chances. Let's go. I'm gonna be honest, guys, I don't think the United Nations is okay, but, what a quote, but either way, I don't even know, they've turned into a Cyclops, like, something's happening, but either way, we end up having ourselves the debut. Apparently you'll get exterminated if you do not debut, you die a painful death, which is not good. But yeah, we end up at that. The rejoining contestant ends up being Germany. That is quite surprising, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, like, they did have that situation with, being the first, how do I best say this? Being the winner, right, and being the first out, which kind of clashed, but they end up rejoining despite being the first out, especially because of the Italy thing. And either way, Russia eventually dips off. The Ukraine gambit nearly worked, but unfortunately it didn't quite. Cuba desperately wants somebody on their team, and they're like, fine, I'll go get Germany. I have to win this challenge. I'm surprised at Cuba's capability to beat entire teams. Cuba can beat the entirety of NATO if they just lock in. Like, what? I don't. How is this possible? Where does Italy, by the way, gets exterminated? Look again. I appreciate the honesty that Italy has to just go like, yo, I was being a simp. Alright, and Germany's like, it's okay. You can simp. you can do it. But yeah, they end up getting the diffs. A challenge to climb Mount Everest, which is apparently pretty easy if you're Cuba. That makes, I mean, to be fair, if you are a country, then it's probably not that complicated. We end up having the UK being surprised that the US knows meters and stop treating me like I'm 6. Well, to be fair, I mean, if you treat those street interview TikToks as a fact of life, then many people who graduated don't know because they don't need to know. Technically, right? So it can, like, it's not necessarily that, oh, I don't, I like 4 years old if I don't know what a meter is, you know? Like, it's kind of like, come on. But, either way, Cuba ends up choosing Team Freedom to be up for elimination. Obviously, Canada, come on, like, there's the US on that team. Germany's not too sure, but, look, Germany and Cuba, they probably make a pretty good duo. Anyways, Egypt ends up recommending that maybe the contestants and the viewers could vote. So we end up that the double elim will have one contestant be eliminated based on the viewer vote, and then the other contestant gets eliminated. Wait a minute, hold on. Yeah, the contestant will get eliminated as well. So it's a double elim, as usual. However, instead of it's a double elim, where one person, where like the viewers get one of the elims and the contestants get to vote on the next. I think this is pretty interesting, especially considering the contestant vote has to be after the viewer vote, which means that it's right after the reaction to the first eliminated contestant, right? And considering that, you know, there could be some knee-jerk reactions and some emotional moments and therefore some emotionally charged voting, which does pose for some interesting questions. But overall, as a system, I do believe it to be pretty good. General, I mean, as I've said in some other catch-ups, I do believe that it is inherently flawed to have 2 eliminations per team, right? Like, no, 2 eliminations on one team because it massively downsizes the team. However, if you're going to do that, which I think for this show is fair enough considering how the teams are laid out and structured, especially since it doesn't want to have too many episodes, right? It ends up being relatively okay. However, in general, I think it's cool. I think it's cool. I think it's a system that works when you are doing a double elim on the same team. So yeah, the United Nations, as I said, they're not going to be united for very long. But either way, it is time for episode 7 of BFCF, which is titled Under New Management. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 7 of BFCFR, Under New Management. So, France is like, well, I can't hang out with Italy anymore because all of the one times that we hang out before, so they end up going over to Spain and being like, hey, want to be friends? Spain says yes. Dude, there's so many characters. You only realize randomly. They say, oh yeah, this is a character. Like, there's so many characters in the show that are just like, don't appear. You know, like, the level of importance per character is like so hilariously skewed, right? Like it's very, very funny. Like, Indonesia's here. I literally just remembered at random. Oh yeah, Indonesia. Like, nothing against Indonesia. They just don't show up in the show. You know, and it's like, bro, like, why? But anyways, we end up having the elimination. They actually got it wrong last in the last guys. I forgot that 2 teams are for elim. It's because in the first few only there were only 2 teams, right? So that's why I got confused. But no, there's 3 teams. That means that 2 teams go out for elim. So well, there were 4 teams because Cuba, but like whatever, 3 teams plus Cuba. But either way, yeah. So yeah, 2 teams ended up being out for elimination. Which means that, yeah, one team was viewer vote and the other team was contestant vote, right? Which makes sense. It is a thing that we have seen that we have seen shows perform before. I think the most famous example would be Google's Diplomatic Show. Google's Diplomatic Show from time to time has done a 1 team contestant vote, 1 team viewer vote system, depending on who gets bottom and who gets second last, right? I think second last is contestant vote, but either way here, teams who are up for elimination aren't necessarily worse than another, quote unquote, so that means that, just OBO picks. Fair enough. Brunei ends up getting eliminated because nobody knows Brunei. Chile absolutely destroys them. Well, according to my advanced state of calculation. Look, I don't know. Chile is just fucking dissing everybody. Fair enough. And then on the other team, the eliminated contestant ends up being Jamaica. Now, I will admit, if you are making a geopolitics, country boss, country flags, whatever series, I would hope that you know how to spell the names of the countries. What the hell is Jamaica? What the hell is a Jamaica? It's spelled wrong both here and in the form. What? You can't do that. Come on, bro. You're not giving the respect the country deserves. Jamaica. Come on, bro. What are we doing out here? But anyways, Earth eventually friggin' glitches away from the Matrix, thanks to UN or the United Nations new developed powers. The other fella also disappeared, Saturn, but who cares? And then that means that they have the new management. They end up sorting out new teams because apparently the other teams were unbalanced. So we have here 3 new teams. I love how the United Nations has absolutely no idea how to order these. This makes no sense. These teams are nothing. I mean, they're nothing to do with each other, right? Like, freaking Greece, like the USA gets separated from Canada. The only thing that makes here is Australia and New Zealand are together, But yeah, Canada's very upset that you will soon burn in the fire and have a very painful and long death. Nope, the United Nations already did that. But yeah, at least New Zealand and Australia get to chill together. They have the friendship, bros. Well, it's not friendship, they're literally brothers. But either way, the United States doesn't know about Greece. They're gonna teach them the countries, so we'll see. I think it's interesting that Greece knows. I mean, I guess Greece is like, relatively important. Right, because they're like the Olympics country, right? So they like they're the important. They're the important one in terms of like knowing other countries, because they had the Olympic Games were invented there. But either way, there's a coin on the moon. Get the coin on the moon. How do you get to the moon? Majority of countries don't know how to get to the moon. The US knows how to get to the moon, and they got to the moon pretty good. However, they forgot that they need to get out of the moon. They managed to somehow throw the coin back down. It ends up landing on Germany, which ends up just submitting it to the UN. And then that means that they are safe when the other teams are up for elimination. I will admit that, I don't know. The US not thinking things through here, bro. Like, what are we doing, bro? United States, please. You got to the moon and forgot you need to get out of it. Well, you'll probably get teleported for the elimination anyways, but yeah, I mean, like, that's tough. You'll be there for a couple of days. But either way, yes, everybody else is up for elimination, and we get to jump into episode 8, which is titled, Can You Leave? No. Okay, that is episode 8. So France, the therapist, ends up asking Canada, yo, why do you try to act nice? And then Canada's like, wait, they know I'm not actually nice? They know about the diary? It's like, the diary? What the hell's the diary? Well, I don't know, but, Canada having a diary seems relatively opportune to be like, in the United States, dumb. They'll say that, or whatever. In the diary, but either way, the US is stuck on the moon until Greece eventually brings them down to do flag class. That way they learn flags. Either way, we end up having Chile. What is Chile doing? Hold on, because like Germany looks at Chile says what, and then like the Chile just raises their eyebrows, and then eventually wait, what? And then they like step their arm, they take a step, and then they go like, yo, do you realize how fast that is? Your friends, that horrible time is wrong. What did they, in the nicest way possible, what did they do though? Like, what did they do? I'm like, they raised their eyebrows. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not cultured enough for this. Either way, eventually Poland appears, and Germany is just scared out of their mind. But either way, we end up having the elimination, where the eliminated contestant on one team ends up being Bhutan, who didn't really do that much. I will admit, Chile still surviving is very funny. And then on the other team, we have the contestant vote, where after a misunderstanding with Spain, with France and Spain, we end up having Cuba and Egypt tie in terms of votes. However, Egypt proceeds to give up because they're apparently super fragile, and Cuba manages to win. So Cuba survives another day. Your challenge is after Poland eventually ends up joining. They decide to join. They agree to join after the United Nations goes like, okay, and then they proceed to do the challenge. What is the challenge? The challenge is no, sorry. Poland gets to join the game, however, they're on the run, which I think is very funny because United Nations, like one episode ago was like, yo, these teams suck and are unbalanced, so I'm going to make my own balanced teams. And then in the next episode, the United Nations already go like, yeah, you can do a team with one person, then you switch teams, so now this team has 3, this team has 4, this team has 5, and this team has 1. Sounds all perfectly suitable to me. Is that, I'm sorry, you're not any different than Earth, you're like the same guy again. You're like the same guy, but if it was the United Nations, you know. But the challenge. Wait, what the hell even is the challenge? The challenge is to is to just do anything in 2 seconds. I think. Wait, I need to. The challenge is do something in 2 seconds. Okay. So Poland proceeds to do it, and then Chile says something so funny, and then everybody else is up for elimination. That is definitely one of the episodes of all time. It's keeping itself. It's roughly consistency. It's inconsistency, where it's like, yes, some scenes are like a little bit of a different style from one another. However, it's one of those things where you can usually pretty immediately tell, right? Like, there aren't that many animators, so that makes each one of their styles very much so distinct from one another. So that means that you can pretty clearly tell who did what part. And then that makes it a little bit better, right? Because you get to go like, oh, okay, that's this person's thing, right? So yeah, that's fair. That's cool. For some reason at the end, I don't even know what happens. The voting screen ends up glitching itself out. Yeah, like there are some interesting things going on, like how in the intro there's also Morse code for where the UN is. I see it, I spotted it, I didn't feel like translating it. However, it's there, all right. It's there. Maybe I can like, what would that be, like, help me? No, I don't know. It's like a 4-letter word and a 2-letter word. But either way, it's time for episode 9. Episode 9 is titled "Time to Go Eat." Here we go. Okay, that is episode 9. So this episode has decided that it is going to be a faster episode than the other episodes. And in fact, nearly every future episode proceeds to be significantly faster than the episode that arrived before. It just decided 5 minutes, can't do that live. So, I mean, okay. Either way, we end up having ourselves the Greece wanting them to in fly class, asking them about the event of a specific time for some reason. The US is not a big fan, but you know, they don't like learning. Cuba gets eliminated, and right before they get eliminated, they end up getting TP'd away, and they get welcomed in by Argentina and stuff. And apparently, as we find out in the post-credit scene, they are in the they're in like the hold on. They're in the failed isolated chamber, which is a place where all of the season 1 contestants that didn't go into season 2 are currently living. And then Cuba's here because apparently they might be able to get them out. So yeah, I mean, as usual, I do have to ask the question: how the hell is it that you can take over somebody and get them into this place, but you can't get yourself out of there back? I don't know, but either way, yeah, I guess Cuba can try their best. But either way, we then have the eliminated contestant on that team, and then on the other team, we end up having Indonesia get eliminated because everybody else is in NATO. So, you know, NATO power, NATO alliance, NATO all of that, NATO. The next challenge is to eat that one coin that went to the moon without dying, which, of course, is spelled wrong. Then we end up having Poland and France being like, hey, could we win? Could I also win, maybe? So yeah, France and Poland decide to agree to share the win. The coin gets split in half, which for some reason, like, Poland is massively shook about. I don't know why that is why is that illegal? I don't really know, but I just know that it is. and then they proceeded to eat the coin, and they successfully eat the coin. They don't have a good time doing it, but with the song that plays in the background of this, it's kind of funny because it's like the first time there's not an object song. It's like a random song that was on TikTok. I don't remember. The description has it. Compa Pasión. Yes, Compa Pasión. That was the song. Music selection has been roughly a set of like of like BFDI music. So in general, I can seeing something else was a little bit random, but it was kind of funny. I think we can jump into the next episode. So the next episode is titled, it's episode 10. It is titled "You Will Pay." Okay, all right, then let's go do that. Let's pay with the coin that we ate. Let's go. Okay, so that is episode 10 of BFCFR. So, we end up, the US still isn't very sure who Greece is. Like, half the time they know, half the time they don't. And they're having Sweden be eliminated. Yes, Sweden, the character that was on the show, they have not appeared. No, genuinely, part of me almost wants to spend like 2 hours for calculating how much screen time Sweden has, because if it's more than 12 seconds, I'll be surprised. Genuinely, how is this even a character in a show? They're literally not there. But like, okay, alright, you get eliminated. I mean, on the other team, we end up having UK and the other fella agree that and Chile agree that those two besties, they, Australia and New Zealand, they're too good. They're too close. We have to split them apart. So they end up agreeing to do to have UK to vote Australia. Australia and New Zealand agreed to vote UK, but that means that they end up tying 2-2, right? So that is not good. We end up having the quiz be about Blue themselves, but what their first show, the UK knows, but Australia doesn't. I wonder if this makes any sense. Like, oh, Blue is British, maybe, so that could mean that like the UK would know. I have no idea where Blue is from, but like it's an idea, right? Like that would make sense. But either way, yes, the New Zealand is very sad, and they get upset about and New Zealand, of course, starts the program going off at UK, being like, don't dare do anything to Australia ever again. To be fair, it is a competition. What was the UK going to do? You got to do the tattoo like that. But either way, yeah, the UK ends up that they will apologize, but they don't, because it's merge time. Yes, it's merge. This show, this merge is so unbelievably early. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's too early for a merge. So 7 more episodes. But like, fair enough. This means that we then have ourselves a new intro, a post-merge intro. That's a little bit, I would say, is it improved? It's, the song is different, so it's kind of just a very different vibe. I do like how it's more stylized with the show, as the other intro was very much so kind of different to the show, like with like a background that never appears, right? But yeah, we then have the challenge, which is to 1v1. Whoever loses is up for elimination. First 1v1, Greece versus Canada. Greece is mean to Canada, so Canada dies. Second 1v1, Poland loses because of course they lose. Third 1v1, the US manages to go, yo, UK, you can't do that to New Zealand. Fair enough. New Zealand versus Germany. Germany's like, I'm sorry, you can win this one. And then Chile ends up doing a funny on the funny, and then they're just fucking yeeting France at Spain, which is pretty funny. Shout out to Chile for just being an absolute menace and still surviving. You know, just managed to consistently being out here day after day, showing up to work, being a menace is not that easy to do without getting eliminated. So they're managing to do it, which is it's very, very fair. And yeah, presumably the people who lost are up for elimination. I don't think there's going to be contestant votes anymore, theoretically then. Right? Yeah, probably not. And it's now time for episode 11. Episode 11 is our third time's not a charm. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 11 of BFCFR. So, it turns out that after Greece gets eaten by the US, they end up bonking onto Germany, and they seem to work like how Saki does in the MBMB. It seems like when you get a bonk on a head, you turn into the evil version of yourself. So Germany has decided to turn back into evil, and she's causing a rampage around the world, which is not good. But before that, we end up having the elimination. The UK gets eliminated, obviously, right? They did the mean quote-unquote thing. So, even though it's not actually a mean thing, it's fully strategical. I'm not gonna lie. Like, they rubbed it in, which was wrong. But other than that, it was a really strategical thing to do, right? Like, it was pretty smart, you know. But they ended up kind of not doing it too well. So, yeah. Either way, we end up having some the intro again. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. After the UK gets shot by Germany, like, remember how I said how I was praising the intro last time for being, it was similar styles, so it's more consistent. Yeah, the problem is it was such a similar style that I didn't realize it started for a little bit because it switched. Because I was like, Germany shot the UK, and then the first part of the intro is Germany, so I was like, okay, this is just the intro, and then they're shaking because they're going on a rampage. Nope, that's just the intro. My bad. Yeah, I gotta clock the song. But either way, yeah, Germany ends up going on their rampage, and everybody starts dying, including Canada, until the US decides enough's enough, and they just shoot Germany. So it turns out that, yeah, Germany is always gonna lose to the United States of Gun. Yeah, that's the episode. I mean, so the US is safe. I mean, like, Germany, I believe that Germany is probably getting eliminated, right? Because I don't think Germany gets excused from this challenge, which is really dumb, by the way. Because, like, I mean, like, okay, I understand that, they were going on a murderous rampage, but obviously they're going to be eliminated if they're going on a murderous rampage. This is about to be the easiest voting of all time. Nobody would have ever invented easier voting if they tried. Like, it would actually be unbelievable. So surely Germany, considering they could never be safe, right? Germany could not be safe themselves on the challenge, should be excused, right? Like, even though they're doing a bad thing, right? Like, they should be excused from the challenge because they cannot be safe in the challenge that is to stop them, right? So, I don't think it's really right here for Germany to be up for elim, and then obviously probably going to be eliminated, but we'll see if there's any lucky sevens in the next episode, which is episode 12. Episode 12 is titled A Masterpiece of Success. Here we go! Whatever that means. Masterpiece of Success. I don't know. Whatever. Let go. Okay, that is episode 12. So Chile has decided that it's time to be funny. So they decided to be funny and murder Germany. Very funny indeed. People enjoy doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna murder you in the name of science. I think they pull it off. I mean, Germany walks back to the United Nations pretty roughed up, which, I mean, you didn't die then, but I don't know what happened. Okay, I don't know what happened. Something happened. Okay, it wasn't good. But either way, we end up having to eliminate contestant beat Germany. So yeah, fair enough. They will now be officially eliminated. Yeah, I mean, it was by far the most set up to have ever set up. You know, like, there was no way that Germany wasn't getting eliminated, and indeed they got eliminated. Then we end up having the challenge, which is to make this thing, an art or whatever, to make art of them, the United Nations. So the USA and Canada team up, the France and Spain team up as their friends, and the other fellas end up just getting paired kind of randomly. So yeah, they end up all deciding to make a sculpture piece, except for New Zealand and Poland, which can't globally, which neither of them know how to do anything, so they end up not knowing how to do it. Chile ends up having a terrible artifact. However, they end up at the last second stealing it from Canada and taking their score, right? They swap it out with Canada, and that means that Canada and the United States lose alongside of a fella that didn't submit anything. In the meantime, there's also France and Spain, which, by the way, France can just give their arms to Spain. Fair enough, but also North Korea can just take them away. So, like we've learned that arms in this universe, right, arms in the universe of BFCF or whatever it's called, it's very volatile. You can never rely on having arms for too long. So this is just another moment that is showcasing the weakness and the power that having arms can entail, right? But yeah, they're getting like an 8 out of 10. What do I actually think? I mean, I think that it's obviously a little bit goofy that everybody except for one team knows how to sculpt. Because I don't know. Have you ever tried sculpting stuff before? It is not that easy. It is not as easy as it looks. But anyway, yeah. So I think that the best team was actually New Zealand. And freaking Poland, because at least they kept their real. They were like, do we know how to do anything? No, you don't. I mean, you probably could have drawn, but I guess if you don't have a piece of paper, then you don't. So at least they kept it for real. Alright, they kept that for real. They weren't gonna lie to you. Okay, they weren't about to lie to you to do all of that jazz, okay? Anyways, I was on. Oh yeah, we were on to episode 13. Episode 13, which is exactly the same. Oh, is this a standard? Oh yeah, they standardized the length for the next few episodes. Okay, episode 13, worst day of UN's life. Oh god, let's go. So that is the third episode of BFCF, and we have ourselves a like and dislike system for the first time. You get to vote if you like a contestant, if you dislike a contestant, which is interesting. So Canada now becomes even more dominant. They got 14 likes and 0 dislikes. I'm not gonna lie, we might need to start pulling out that diary that you mentioned. Otherwise, Canada might just win easy. I'm not gonna lie, Canada's never getting eliminated like this. You gotta pull out the diary. You gotta pull out the notes. You gotta pull out the notes. Alright, otherwise it's not gonna be good. But either way, the UN keeps getting absolutely trolled by everybody who just ends up not taking it very serious. The other minute contestants to be New Zealand, which they get out. However, that's actually better because they get to hang out with Australia. So that's pretty cool. Then we end up having the challenge. However, unfortunately, we end up having Chile coming in and doing a funny moment. For I don't even know what the fuck Chile's doing here. They're singing that one song that I talked about. Which, by the way, I know that this is an episode late, but last time. One of the songs that was in the background was Double Life, but it was in the instrumental Double Life, and it got me thinking of a very interesting question, is that is using instrumentals of like pop music a valid idea for backing track? I feel like, in my opinion, it's distracting if you know the song, because you think, oh, vocals should be here, right? Especially because a lot of time instrumentals tend to be quite repetitive, so that they allow for, vocal changing. So I wouldn't actually usually recommend it, because like basically if the song has a common association that is different than just being background music, you'll notice it and it'll get you distracted, basically, right? It's the same reason why I actually don't recommend to nearly any show to add the BFB outro music, right? That BFB voting screen music, right? Like that music into a section that isn't the voting screen, because when I hear that song, I just instinctively think voting screen. But in that voting screen, but like if it's just a random part of an episode, I don't think it proper, right? It's that I notice it. I say, oh, this is the song for the voting screen, but it's not a voting screen, right? Like it's kind of, I don't think it through like that. So that's my opinion on it. I think that you gotta be a little bit careful with music selection. Anyways, the UN dips because they keep getting upset at everybody. So then the fucking moon comes by, turn into 2010. Chile ends up giving themselves BFDI assets, even though they barely do. It's still hand drawn. But either way, they end up being in 2010, and then the moon tells them that they're safe from Elimantum. So yeah, we'll get to see who gets eliminated at the Elimantum in episode 14 of BFCF, which is titled, I don't know what the title of this episode. Well, then figure it out. Come on, bro. Alright, here goes nothing. Here goes. Okay, that is episode 14 of BFCFR, FRFCFB. No, that's not true. But either way, we end up having a couple of fellas ended up being like, yeah, there's nothing to do, it's boring out here, because, to be fair, there really isn't anything for these people to do, because ever since that the show, like 5 episodes ago, decided that it did not want to have longer episodes, it means that ever since, like, episode 7-ish, like, episode 8, let's say, it has completely stopped having arcs. Like, have you noticed? Like, it has stopped having arcs, because it just doesn't have time. It literally doesn't give itself any time to start an arc, right? So, like, it just kind of ends up just pretty much not doing anything, which is a little bit unfortunate, because I did find, like, look, like, you could debate how good the arcs, like, Germany and Italy or whatever were, but at least they were, right? Like, at least it's something interesting about an episode, right? But in the indeed episodes, like, they're okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with them at all. There's zero things going on with them. However, in general, there's just not too much going for them either, right? They're just kind of, they're a thing. Right, so that's why. So I'll be very interested in eventually taking a look at season 3, because the episodes are so much longer that it's like, well, what is about to happen? I don't know, but anyway, we're having the elimination where Spain gets eliminated. Let's give ourselves a moment of silence for each one of the Spain moments that marked this show as very important Spain lore. Okay, that's it. That was it. There was no Spain lore. Spain did like one challenge and befriended France, and that's it. But yeah, goodbye Spain. The challenge, as the UN decides, is to get. What you want to hear, joke you? The challenge is to get rid of Moon, and Francis tells them a very strongly worded sentence. Yo, you made the challenge that got my friend Spain eliminated, so you have offended me, and therefore you can leave, and I will give you a hamburger, which I don't think is actually true. I don't think Moon got the hamburger, but look, Moon was respectful. They left as they got told. Chile randomly goes like, yo, 2 people should be safe. I think it's because, to be fair, Chile is like kind of smart though, because Chile noticed that when Egypt did this, Egypt's team proceeded to be safe for suggesting the idea, right? However, so Chile was like, oh, I'm gonna suggest this. That way the UN does it and I'm safe. However, it turns out that no, the UN makes it that whoever talks first gets immunity, and Greece talked before Chile did. So, that means that Chile actually got themselves into a larger chance of elimination, because they ended up, they gave themselves less competition in terms of like who to vote for. So that means that it's not, they're at a higher risk of elimination. So I don't know, Chile. I feel like this gambit might have not have paid off, and I'm saying that I have a feeling that Chile might get eliminated in episode 15 called Hamborger is Heaven. Here we go. Okay, that is episode 15 of BFCFR. So we have ourselves Earth starting to appear in mirages for Poland, who gets extremely scared and they end up leaving. I'm glad that at least Poland got eliminated in the exact same way that they joined, which is randomly for no reason because they said so. That is, that's how they joined and that's how they leave. And they end up just running away because they can't be there with Earth. Greece tries to say that it's not fair, but I mean, either way, there's not too much that they're really going to do about it. And Chile does indeed end up getting out. All of them, however, get a positive amount of votes, which I think is good for the characters being likable, right? But yeah, Chile and Poland end up getting eliminated. Poland gets teleported into Waterland, where there is a freaking dead-eyed version of the Earth there, which is, they're probably coming back for the finale. I don't really know what this Earth is doing, but look, these two like rotate. They're like, no, you go in the fish tank. No, you go in the fish tank. No, I go in the fish tank. No, you go in the fish tank. Right? Them to taking turns between being miserable in the fish tank. Right? Like that's what they end up doing. These two hosts. So I mean, like, yep, fair enough. There's really not that much to say about it. Either way, we end up having the challenge with 4 people. Challenge: find my burger, and I will be safe. We end up having the US make a burger from McDonald's, which ends up being faster than, friggin' France ordering a burger from McDonald's, which the US owns. And then we end up having the UN declare USA safe. I will admit, though, that it is a little bit suspicious because, like, if you think about it, right, the UN was very specific when they said that they needed to find my burger, right? Like, to get my burger. So that means that it was their burger already, which means that then when the US just makes a new burger and gives it to the United Nations, that is not their burger. That is just a different burger. So, if the UN was looking for their burger specifically, this would not do the cut. However, I'm just presuming that, it's like, in general, just spelling, right? It's just sentence structuring specifics, right? And like, okay, fair enough. You don't need to know it correctly, right? Sometimes things get misspelled, and things get like misinterpreted in the way that they're written, and that's okay. I get it. The challenge was to get me a burger, wasn't to get me the specific burger that is yours that you lost or whatever, right? So that makes perfect sense, perfectly reasonable. All right, it is time now for the big old episode 16. We're getting there. Episode 16 of BFCFR is titled "A Better Letter." Let's get her. Ooh, let's go, rhyme scheme. All right, all right, go. Okay, that is episode 16 of BFCFR. So, the stuff's happening. The Earth is coming back. I don't know when. I don't know if it's gonna be by this season. However, the ending screen is glitching out. Poland is getting traumatized as usual. I mean, that always happens. But, but like, Earth is traumatizing Poland over there in the waterlands. But anyways, the US and Canada are thinking about trying to get France out of the game, so we'll have to do something. We need to stop France, alright? What evil plan is France thinking? Well, I don't know about breakfast. I'm surprised that one of the, France is so unbelievably unstereotypical, to be honest. Like, if you really think about it, like, France, you would think that France would be way more because it's one of the most stereotypical, it's one of the countries with the most stereotypes. You would think that the France character would be way more stereotypical, but you know what, we're going against norms, we're going against those norms, especially because, again, a character like the US is surprisingly, has had a lot of, stereotypes done about them in this series. France, overall, pretty chill. There's no wee baguette. This is what I'm trying to say. But either way, they end up tactically getting them out. However, this challenge is a direct performance-based challenge. You can't do any voting. You just simply have to make it. If you get last place, you are out. The challenge is to find U and N, the letters that make up United Nations. The last to find a letter is eliminated. France manages to find the letter first. They find the letter U, meaning that she is safe. And now that means that Canada and the US, who found the letter N, have to find out who will get it. Canada decides to give it to the US, and the US ends up being safe, meaning that the US was sad because of the epic sacrifice that Canada made at the time. The France is going off on a gigantic talk about, I'd be pretty cool if I won, but it'd be pretty cool. However, you don't need to vote for me because, my bad, I eliminated Canada. I know you guys like Canada, so my bad for eliminating Canada. But, overall, I think that it's pretty cool that I could win, but, you can vote who you want, but, I would like it. You'd be just let me know that I'd appreciate it, but it makes sense if you want to vote the United States, right? That's what the France said. And then the US said, USA. So yeah, who do you want to win? Who do I want to win? I feel like probably the US definitely makes for a better. No, I think for a more representative winner, I would say. Because the US, it kind of represents the fun vibe. So France did a lot. France managed to activate a lot of characters, right? A lot of characters were very empty, but France managed to activate a lot of them, like Italy, like Spain, right? Characters that would otherwise not have too much. So I do think that maybe France, okay, maybe the US will represent the show better, and I would say the winner should represent the show. However, I do think that France deserves it more for the work put in this season. However, just because of the fun vibes, I would say that US probably should win and probably will win because of the Canada thing. But we're gonna need to see. We'll see, because Canada would have obviously pretty much swept it. They were the massive vote favorite. So yeah, the US will probably win for Canada, right? Like that just makes a lot of sense. But yeah, no, it's actually hilarious just how much Canada swept literally every voting. But it's sometimes it's just the way that it is. Episode 17 of BFCFR is titled "Winner Decided." Here we go. Okay, that is episode 17 and the last one of BFCFR, Winner Decided. So, it's 2 minutes. It's really interesting just how short this is, but it does technically do everything. But again, it just does it in a fast way. This show does something fast, and in a way, it's a little bit of a blessing and a curse because it ends up making these videos very short, right? These episodes end up being very short. So in a way, it's a little bit of a curse. However, it is a little bit of a blessing because that means that this show has never felt boring, right? Which is nice, because, like, for example, yes, it speeds through the things when it probably needed a bit more runtime, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, if it did spend all of that additional time showing every contestant, every single one, without speeding them up at all, then it would start to become a little bit boring, right? So this show's very conscious about not being boring, right? Which is pretty solid, it's pretty smart, I would say. However, in general, yeah, it's definitely a little bit sometimes with curse, because the episode doesn't have more content to make up for the fact that it's going faster, right? So it ends up kind of having less stuff going on. Either way, the US wins for Canada. I don't believe we get to know by how much. Yeah, we don't actually get to know by how much. However, we end up having the US win for Canada. The Canada power is strong. They get to own Antarctica, the 51st state now officially. Thank you. Good job. Good stuff, Antarctica. And then right at the last second, the Earth comes back, and they're back for revenge. They want their show back. They've been all disfigured. Not good for Earth. And then right at the last second, the United Nations gets swept up and be like, you will be in eternal. You will seek eternal pain. Look. Okay. Here's the deal. I know Eternal's my name. I'm Eternal the second. However, look, you can use my name in these negative connotations. It's fine. But either way, it's like the only time people ever use the word eternal is that eternal suffering, eternal pain. When is that eternal kindness in coming? When are they dropping the good version of the word eternal? Like, come on. But anyways, yeah, the US gets to satisfy about their state, and then the episode ends. We don't get to see France's reaction, which is unfortunate. Like, in general, I think it tries so much to only do the stuff that's interesting, but it kind of, like, leaves off that stuff that's interesting. Like, look, I would have liked to see at least France's reaction, maybe France congratulating the US or vice versa, right? Or like somebody else's reaction to the UN disappearing, right? Or maybe somebody else talking to the US, or like just anything at all. Or, the dead contestants. Remember all these contestants were dead and exterminated? They're going to come back, right? So, like, maybe you show them getting revived and maybe meeting each other again, any of that stuff. Like, it's the type of stuff that, yes, okay, it's filler in terms of it doesn't actively progress the competition, but it doesn't have to, right? Not everything has to progress the competition. It gets you, like, these are the types of different interactions. Like, okay, it'll slow down the pacing, however, it'll get you more into the world, right? And yeah, okay, maybe for some people it'll be a little bit more boring, sure, okay, but like in general, it'll get you more invested in the world. If you truly care about watching the show, you'll care, right? And that's kind of the thing about it. But here's the deal: I'm not gonna criticize too much because I know that BFCF Season 3 has episodes averaging themselves at fucking like 1 billion minutes. So yeah, I won't be able to watch it today, which is unfortunate. Either way, I mean, it would take a while to realistically get to it. I like to get through it. So yeah, I think that we shall pull off an outro and call it for today and do BFCF Season 3 next time. Alright, that will be all for today's episode of Object Catchup. Yeah, here's the deal. It is definitely a little bit annoying, right, that it is another time where I have to split a show into multiple days. But it's just too big. Like, I'm already, to be 100% honest, I've not been the most motivated lately. Then I would have to do that series, like Season 3, which would take me, like, ages. I don't even know. How big is Season 3 of the show? I don't even know. It would even itself out to more than 2 hours, I think. Or like it's at least getting there. So like that would make this a 3 hour and a half long video, and it's like, yeah, it's just kind of like I'm already not too motivated onto it. It's so much stuff, and it's like just annoying to leave it to multiple days, because then I'm gonna have to do it next day, and then that's another day that I can't cover the stuff that I'm already behind on in other categories, right? Which, like, it's sad. It's sad, but like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think this is why we're currently, I'm gonna be honest, I believe that we're in a little bit of a slump right now. It's because of this epic stall out that is happening, right? In terms of requests, the older requests are these big shows. In terms of the keep ups are these big shows, right? Well, I've enjoyed watching stuff like Concept or Web or this. They end up taking multiple days, right? Because, like, it's just a lot of stuff. Because, like, you might think, oh, what, you don't have 2 hours to watch the show? Yeah, but think about it. 2 hours plus to 2 hours to cover it. That's 4 hours, plus the fact that, plus literally all over, setup time, breaks, like, the setup time pause, the right, stuff in between and all that stuff, then it ends up as like a lot of time out of a day. And if I'm not motivated to getting the motivation to go in and be like, all right, 5 hours, here we go. It's not that easy, right? So that is the real explanation to why it's currently on a little bit of a slump, right? But hopefully we can shovel our way out of these long shows. No disrespect to the shows, it's just that it ends up taking away space from shows which we've like it like, we'll get to them, but we'll get to them slower, right? So yeah, big apologies for that. However, look, hopefully you can understand if your show hasn't been covered yet, because I know that, like, for example, some keep ups are a week old. I know that there's stuff like the new ties double drop, right? There's other stuff, Nonchalant ended, right? All that stuff, from shows that we've already watched. But it's like, you're gonna need to give me a minute. You're gonna need to give me a moment, because I gotta do some of this, right, from time to time, and tomorrow we're gonna close off with BFCF. That's like the best way that I could really describe what's currently going on with the situation. It's unfortunate, but hopefully we can get out of the slump of like multiple giant shows that I have to cover back to back, and then we can hopefully jump ourselves into some faster stuff in future episodes. Sometimes it ends up that the required stuff is just bigger overall, right? Okay, hopefully you can understand. And yeah, for BFCF, we're 2 out of 3 seasons done. See you next time. Goodbye.